and I'll ask you, what types of images come to your mind? Is it about images of scientists in white laboratory coats observing subjects' movements, actions, and reaction? Still others may envision research as something done by college or university professors as a regular aspect of their work. For quite some time, research has been conducted primarily by professionals whose principal education includes training in research studies. The specific procedures for conducting this type of research are somewhat different because of its formal foundation. Well, my focus today is the type of practitioner-based research known as action research. Mills in 2011 cited that over the last decade, action research has begun to capture the attention of teachers, administrators, and policymakers. Educators at a variety of levels have embraced it as something that makes conducting research a more manageable task and that brings about significant results that are more informative and have immediate and direct application. For us educators, taking time to reflect critically on the things we are doing in our classrooms is perhaps the most effective thing we can do to ensure that what we are doing is having the desired outcomes and is changing our practice and learners' performance. This is where action research comes in.
Mills defined action research as any systematic inquiry conducted by teachers, administrators, counselors, or others with a vested interest in the teaching and learning process or environment for the purpose of gathering information about how their particular schools operate, how they teach, and how their students learn. It also allows teachers to study their own classrooms. For example, their own instructional methods, their own students, and their own assessments. This is in order to better understand them and to be able to improve their quality or effectiveness. Also, it focuses specifically on the unique characteristics of the population with whom a practice is employed or with whom some action must be taken. Due to the fact that action research is largely about examining one's own practice, it is very important to integrate reflection in the process. According to Parsons and Brown in 2002, reflection can be defined as the act of critically exploring what you are doing, why you decided to do it, and what its effects have been. In order for the teachers to be effective, they must become active participants in their classrooms as well as active observers of the learning process. They must analyze and interpret classroom information that has been collected in a systematic manner, and then use that information as the basis for future planning and decision-making. A number of authors and researchers have proposed models for the action research process. Because this process is somewhat dynamic, various models look a bit different from one another but possess numerous common elements. Action research models begin with a central problem or topic. They involve some observations or monitoring of current practice, followed by the collection and synthesis of information and data. Finally, some sort of action is taken, which then serves as the basis for the next stage of action research. That's according to Mills in 2011. In addition, some models are simple in their design, while others appear relatively complex. This range of complexity, from simpler to more complex, can be seen in the following examples. This figure shows the Stringer's action research interacting spiral. It describes action research as a simple yet powerful framework consisting a look, think, and act routine. During this stage, participants observe, reflect, and then take some sort of action. This action leads them to the next stage. The next figure shows Lewin's action research spiral model. From identifying a general or initial idea, to fact-finding, to planning, taking first action step, to evaluating, to amending plan, before taking another step. Calhoun's action research cycle model, while not appearing as a spiral, still represents a process that is built around a cyclical notion. As it is described, the solid lines indicate a primary direction of the action research cycle through the phrases in numerical order. The dotted lines indicate backward and forward movement within the cycle as refinement or clarification of information is warranted. So, which model should you follow? Personally, I do not think it really matters, as I see them essentially as variations on the same theme as evidenced by their shared elements. As you saw earlier in the various models presented, action research is a recursive, cyclical process that typically does not proceed in a linear fashion. Teacher researchers engaged in action research often find themselves repeating some of the steps several times, or perhaps doing them in a different order. On the other hand, most teachers find it difficult to start crafting action research because they are engrossed in the context of starting what to write rather than starting what to do. Action research context will start with what to do and what to write will follow. If teachers will start doing something, then they could probably write what they are really doing, rather than requiring them to write first without any action done is quite a hard thing to do. From among the different action research frameworks and models presented a while ago, I will be presenting now a very simple one that's easy to understand. The first step is to identify and describe the problem. Second is to generate and analyze data. Third is plan an intervention. The fourth step is to monitor and introduce the intervention. The fifth is to analyze evaluative data and then review the process. To start with step 1, most of the time we are confused of what really is the context of problem in education. In the context of action research, problems are situations, conditions contributing to alarming results, according to Ortiz in 2012. Problems are considered the main reasons or root causes of the situation, not the result or the indicator. This time, let us take a look at some issues in our classrooms and tell whether if we consider these situations as problem or not. Let's try to consider the scenario on Low National Achievement Test (MPS). Is this a problem or not? Well, this is not a problem. This is the result of the specific problem. How about difficulty in identifying logical sequences? This is a problem. If the students find it hard to identify logical sequences, this case might contribute to the low performance in the National Achievement Test. We need to break the whole to see the specific situations. By looking at the pieces, we can treat the issues one by one. We are not going to look at the results. We will go down to the root causes for us to treat the real problem. In step 1, we were able to classify already what is the real problem. Now we are ready to go back to the data that shows the cases of the problem. And there are several things to be considered when analyzing data. First, define the classroom problem that contributes to the low performance. Then go back to the evidences and look for cases that shows the problem. Then, from that evidences present, call out only relevant cases that show the problem, and then analyze the root causes of the problem. Let's now have the step 3 of the framework. It's designing an intervention. Always consider the intervention based on the immediate problem. The process should be clear, it should also be direct, and should explain the purpose of the intervention. The time frame should be balanced. The baseline data timeline and the intervention timeline should be equal. If the baseline data is 2 weeks, the intervention also should be 2 weeks, and the rest should be continuous. In the learning continuum, from the present state to the desired target, intervention should be done. Intervention is not just repeating what has been done, but it is introducing what is new in the process. This tells that there is just something to be changed in the process to make it improved. It should also make sure that the improved elements should suit to the learner's need. We should also consider its feasibility. This means that intervention should be cost-efficient, time-saving, resource-wise, and easy for both the teachers and learners. There are situations that teachers may think that situations are hard to handle, but as long as it will be planned carefully, then it will become feasible. We should also consider its strategic influence, that one intervention can treat many problems. Teachers should design an intervention that will cater almost all problems at the same time. This is what we consider a result of wise planning that enables to guarantee a wise result. As we go along with the steps, we will be able to know that action research is an iterative process. The data you collect and your analysis of it will affect how you approach the problem and implement your action plan during the next cycle. Even as you begin drawing conclusions, continue collecting data. This will help you inform or confirm your conclusions or revise them in a light of new information. While you can plan how long and often you will collect the data, you may also want to continue collecting until the trends have been identified and new data comes redundant. Now that you have formed a final conclusion, the cycle begins again. In the light of your findings, you should have adjusted your theory or made it more specific. Then modify your plan of action, begin collecting the data again, and begin asking new questions. While the ultimate goal of your research is to promote effective change in your classroom or school, do not underestimate the value of sharing your findings with others. Sharing your results helps you further reflect on the process and problem, and it allows others to use your results to help them in their own endeavors, also to improve the education of their students.
And that concludes my episode on the Introduction to Action Research. We'll have more of this on my next videos. This is Miss Liza saying, bye for now.